It feels like it's been a little while. It's not that it feels like it's been a little while. It has been a little while since we've been in the stewed, as the kids call it.
Yeah, it may not have been, depending on, like, you and me might know that.
Yeah.
But guess who doesn't know that?
Well, the person who heard the last episode when we published it has been anxiously awaiting for a new one.
Yes, but you know what? As far as they know, we have recorded 35 episodes since that point in time.
That's true.
We're holding them. We
Well-
recorded. You know what we did? We recorded every single day since that person that
Really?
says, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Hey, well, hang on. That they said, hey, man, every Friday I went and got into my truck and I'm going out to work out in the fields and deal with the grapes and deal with whatever I'm dealing with, or I'm going to the office, or I'm doing whatever I do. Right?
Yeah.
They said, I don't know what happens. This Friday I got into my truck. It's not there.
Yeah.
I got used to it. It's almost like, something that happens. The garbage
It's like the
man
cozy blanket.
that's a good one.
Or the
Cozy-
milkman delivery.
God, remember that? I don't, but I heard about it.
I definitely do. I
Really?
can remember the little, like a metal box, like at the side of the front door that he would put the glass bottles in.
Man, you can actually remember the milkman.
Totally.
You had a milkman
100
delivery?
100%.
God, I'm trying to. Here's a funny thing. After you said that, I suddenly like remembered the milkman coming. And now,
Yeah.
is that one of those psychological events where you just planted the seed in my head?
Maybe.
Because all of the stories that I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's funny. Now that you say that, I remember crawling around and the milkman coming out, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, he was in the back of my house with my mom.
Yeah. Do you remember the Charles Chip delivery?
I do remember the Charles Chip and the Charles Chip truck.
Yes, the Charles Chip's truck, and then it came in a metal cylinder can.
Cylinder can. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay, Charles Chip was that like the hoot owl thing?
I don't know.
And it was like
Oh,
the
did it
logo
have
was an owl on
Okay.
it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Charles Chip logo mascot or whatever was some type of an owl. But yes, I do remember the can. By the way, that can, I'm thinking about it like, ironically, right now around my house, I'm looking for little containers.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
be a
imagine
great
every like week or month. I mean, how often I wonder at some point in time do you get your Charles Chips?
Can you imagine if Ruffles delivered?
Right? You get your Ruffles, and then bam, you get this awesome can.
But it was like a subscription, right? Didn't they
I
come just like the
guess.
milkman? They come once a week, or they come.
Isn't it so trippy that you're asking that? Because like here to answer your question, I'm gonna say I have no idea, but it locks my brain up thinking about what did you do? Did you have to call?
Yeah.
Did you send something in the mail?
It wasn't online.
No, it's not. It's not like some Uber Eats or something. You go, it's time for me to get Charles Chips.
Charles Chips was the original Uber Eats.
That's right. You had to get a subscription to Charles Chips.
Yeah.
Shows up. Hey, here's another one. That I didn't have this, but Jenny, my ex-wife, would talk about this. The Swanson man.
Oh, I don't know. About
Okay,
this.
Swanson. Maybe because we grew up in Atlanta area, the South, we didn't have that. Very, very similar milkman to Charles Chip. Swanson guy shows up with a delivery of your meals for the week.
Oh,
Right?
really?
You got you might have
like TV dinner type of meal.
TV dinner type of deals. You got your meatloaf, you got your potatoes, your vegetable medley, and just like we described, because I'm trying to think about like, what is the thrill? Like I kind of feel some excitement for Charles Chip every week, but it's just you're getting potato chips.
Potato chips.
You know, I don't think
they weren't even my favorite potato
right.
chips.
I mean, are they different flavors? But boom, Swanson guy shows up because that might be you're a kid and you're like, damn, I'm getting toward the end of the week. We got the lesser end of the rest of our Swanson meals. Our mom's making tuna salad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Kids are like, yeah, here he comes. Swanson guy coming. That means tonight we got whatever.
I hope he's got shepherd's pie.
That's right. Shepherd's pie. We got chicken nuggets. Although that might not even happen. I don't remember. When was the first time chicken nuggets come about?
I don't know, but I definitely remember the TV dinners, and I remember we had the TV stands, the trays,
Oh, yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
call it? A TV stand? I don't know.
Exactly. The ones with the little arms come out, and you put the little tray on
the
top
tray
of
right
them.
on there, and
Yeah.
the family sits around the living room with trays in front of them
Okay.
of terrible food.
Yeah.
And watches, whatever Jeopardy. What Jeopardy
Wait a
was.
minute. You're going down a really awesome nostalgic path now too, because us too. Like, maybe those families that sat around and talked to each other.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some aspect of having some kind of slight envy for that. I don't know, because that's so foreign to me. But my family, we had one of those circular tables, only
Yeah.
three of us. So,
Yeah.
each two corners
With a
cross.
lazy Susan.
Well, you know what? It didn't have a lazy Susan, but basically the table was shaped like an entire lazy Susan.
Right.
Across the room, which this is amazing to think about, given the resolution of our TVs back then and the size of a TV,
Yeah.
right? Is way across the room. It's basically like us looking at our phones with our arms fully extended now. What would be the equivalent of that? And we would watch. What would we watch? Maybe, here's one for you since you were on it.
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune, yes.
Yes.
And Sanford and Son. I think that would be one that we would watch.
Hang on, you watched Sanford and Son at dinner time.
Yeah, that wasn't it like a 7 o'clock at night?
Maybe.
The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, All in the Family.
Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley.
Oh yeah.
All of those. That's what we would watch as we sat around the living room. However, that was kind of like a bonus thing. My PA is making a lot of noise in the background, but that was kind of a bonus thing to sit with the TV trays and the TV dinner, and I thought that was luxe. Meanwhile, when we had to have dinner at the table, at the dining room table, and we did sit around and talk about our days, and that was lovely. But nicely prepared dinners by my folks. I almost thought of that as like a punishment. The reward was actually eating the shitty Swanson dinners in front of the TV. I thought that was a real treat.
Totally can get that, because maybe as a kid, part of that, by the way, I would have felt the same way. Like when I said I'm slightly envious, maybe if it was a different family, but my family, I thought, we don't have to sit here and talk to each other. We can watch this show, right? I'm happy with my family, obviously, as long as I got the equivalent to the Swanson, Salisbury steak, whatever it was that I liked.
Yeah.
I like to have my food. I like to watch my shows.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Anyway, why should I care right now? Because we have a guest coming in. Welcome to Drop the Check. Today's special guest is a chef from a great winery that makes great food. That means he's a great chef. Let's give it up for Dotto Vineyards' own Chef Jake Johnson. It is just so effing hot. Like
90% humidity.
Exactly. Now all of that balmy hotness, humidity that you're like sweating it, terribly at 8 a.m.
Shower and never get dry
it doesn't
again.
matter. Just doesn't matter. You shower to get out to get back into the shower.
Yep.
Well, I got something, though, in that regard, because, I was just in the South and went Jacksonville, St. Simons, Sea Island, Savannah, Atlanta, Hilton Head, Charleston, Bluffton, back to Atlanta. And it was sweltering. And it was, I think it was like 99 degrees at least one day. And then it was high humidity at that point. Right. It was like 80% approximately when I looked at it on my app. I'm looking at it right now in Atlanta. And what do you think the humidity is there right now, Mike?
Right now?
Based on Yahoo here.
What's it feel like?
Oh, I thought you were going to say based upon my feelings.
Yes. No, sure. I'm asking you to guess. My answer is going to be based upon what I see on my phone.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm going to say 93%.
You know what it is? Based on this? 39%.
Lies.
I'm
Lies.
here.
You know what you
I'm
have?
here. No, listen. I'm here in Napa.
Yeah.
What do you think the humidity is here?
Negative 825.
46%.
Okay.
It says it's more humid here than there, and it does feel humid here today. But like when I was like looking at things, like it was like when I was in Atlanta, it was like Tahoe was like 25% humidity, Napa was like 50% humidity, and Atlanta was like 80% humidity. But then, I've been looking at it now, fascinated, because it's like, oh, it's so humid in Atlanta and it's so dry here. And based on the numbers, it doesn't reflect that.
We have the Mediterranean climate.
Yes, I know, but the humidity is humidity.
Yeah.
We have wind here more so than you guys do, but not on the coast. Like Charleston has a little wind, little breeze,
Hang on,
ocean breeze.
I have to do some
Cheers.
little cross-reference here.
Yeah.
Stay there 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, he's gonna fact check you right now.
Well, I'm glad you were able to come over today. It's nice to have. I mean, I guess a lot of our guests are local people, but you are right here in town, and this is how we roll. We were doing our intro already, so we were just jumping right in here in the studio. Now it's not as common for me to go off camera and Mike to leave or not, and I don't know. Mike might edit this out. He might not, but either way, I'm good with it. You got a humidity update here?
Man, okay.
Okay.
Let me see your arms. Are you sweating yet? Did you walk outside?
Look at that.
There
Look what
we
just happened.
go.
I didn't even walk
And
outside.
you just got out of the shower.
Look, this is inside my house.
Okay.
So maybe there's something to that.
75 degrees, 46% humidity.
Yeah, 75 to 75.
You can see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
can't
guess.
see
46 is inside my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
what
mean,
did I
am
say?
I just crazy?
In
You said close to
outside.
there.
You said 35.
outside, it says Atlanta humidity is 39%.
Okay. Hey, look, we go off of the numbers. We like to go off of what we call the facts, right?
Yeah,
The
but if
facts.
you were to ask me right now, and what was your original guess? 90% or something like that?
I mean, yeah, like, do I really know these things? I'm going to say my feeling based upon I can walk outside, boom,
Yeah.
right?
And you just
Like
sweat.
glasses. I have glasses.
Oh,
they're
totally.
fogged up.
Totally.
That is, I mean, I'm not the scientist that you are, but that, to me, that's humidity.
That's humidity. And I did the same thing. It was hilarious when I was in Kiowa Island. There's a place there called the Sanctuary. It's awesome. And I was going to sell wine. And I had driven directly from Atlanta to the Sanctuary. And I got there at like noon. And I'd been in my car the whole time. And I got out and I put on my glasses. And it literally was like this Topo Chico bottle. I mean, just completely fogged over. Speaking of which, you know what I'm going to have here, Mike?
Topo Chico.
Look at this.
Look at that.
Topo Chico, look at that.
We're going to have to ask Chef Jake his opinion on it. Now, I drink it straight out of the glass bottle.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
That's the way to go, right? And now, are you a fan of the Topo Chico?
I'll tell you right now.
So you've not really had a lot
I'm
of
not
Topo Chico.
super familiar with the Topo Chico
Okay.
mineral water.
Well,
I've had
this is
the
great.
seltzers before.
Okay, yeah. But this is the original, and this is the
Yeah.
original bottle logo, label, everything. And I think it's absolutely the best water. But I came to be apprised of Topo Chico through chefs,
Okay.
and it was always chefs going, "Oh no, it's the best water." But that's not what you came up through your tradition of chefing.
I'm a seltzer water guy. Love sparkly water.
But weren't having a lot of Topo Chico in your world.
No, I didn't really see it that much until I moved up here.
Yeah. So then let's.
More of a Perrier, San Pellegrino.
Yeah. Or as
Pellegrino,
my dad used to call it Perrier.
Perrier.
Harry,
Hey,
yeah, of course.
it was so embarrassing. It was like the classic thing on the plane with your old man, and he'd be like, we'd be all over the plane, our big family, whatever, and you'd have Dad yelling at my brother down the aisle, "Hey, Paul, they got some of that Perrier water you like?"
And that, Dad, but you get to that age where you're impressionable and you're going, Dad, no, internal voice, no, please don't. My buddy Dusty Cantrell, his dad, he had it. He was definitely Perrier.
Right.
He said they were going on vacation to Hawaii.
Hawaii.
And I'd always say, "I'm fine. How are you, Myron?" Hawaii. I'm fine.
That's about as good of a dad joke as it gets.
Right?
Exactly.
I listen. I am dad too. In fact, Chef Jake, my daughter, if she was hearing the joke right now live with us, what I just said about, saying to our dad, no, don't do it, she'd see me telling that joke and she would go, no, don't deliver that. Don't say it.
See, the embarrassment travels through generations.
It happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It happens. It's impressed in our DNA. So
I do
let's
like
talk
the topo, but
how did we get here? Because we have now, it's funny that we were talking before you came here, Chef Jake, about food nostalgia and food delivery when we were kids.
And he's not going to know any of it.
I know. That's an awesome thing about we have kind of a generational.
State your age, Chef.
I'm 30 years old.
Okay, this is wonderful.
23 years younger than me, and what, 24 years younger?
At least 40 years younger than me. Lots
30
of
going
years
on
younger
a
than.
70-year-old grumpy man.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
and 30 years ago, you were born where?
I was born. Yes.
You 30 years ago, you were born. That's correct. Where was that?
I was born in Greenville, South Carolina.
okay,
So we
great.
got a little Southern connection.
Another
going on.
Southerner going here.
A little bit,
Fan-
yeah. Didn't spend much time there. Pretty quickly moved back to Southern California to be back with most of our family. Don't really have any family in South Carolina.
Yeah.
A little bit in Alabama, but
It's mostly a Southern Cal thing.
yeah, when you have kids, you need help with,
Yeah.
it takes a village.
That's
so.
right. That's
Amen.
right.
That's right.
So, and then high school years would be Southern California.
Most of my high school years were actually in Arizona.
Oh, in Arizona, that's right. I knew that. So bopping around, but Mike, I think I interrupted a train of thought you had there. You were going to ask, like, how did we arrive here?
Well, no,
You did
some of that.
Hold on. It was that I was doing the nostalgia thing. So we were talking about milk delivery. I'm sure you never had milk delivery.
Never had milk.
And are you familiar with Charles Chips?
Charles. No, I don't think so.
No, this is in the 70s. And it was just like, how the milkman used to come to people's homes and bring you milk. There was Charles Chips, and there was a Charles Chips truck, and it was like brown and gold, like UPS kind of colors. But it was like a big van truck that would come like a UPS truck, and it would deliver your chips, potato chips, in a tall cylindrical, not tall, but a big cylindrical can.
Like popcorn?
Like a popcorn thing, yeah.
Exactly. In fact, it's the same can.
Yeah.
Is it?
It may have been the same can. When Charles Chips was no longer, whoever is the popcorn guy that now has the caramel
cans.
corn, they go, what are we going to do with all these cans? The chip people were like, shit. Or the can people. We got to do something with these cans. Boom. The rise of popcorn cans.
Yeah.
You don't remember any of that. So then we switched into Swanson's TV dinners.
Okay, so I do. My family in Washington State.
Okay.
My grandparents were big Swanson.
There you go.
This is
The truck used
fantastic.
to come through and deliver, every
Okay,
week
so
or
he knows
yeah.
this. Mike and I didn't know this.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
This is
okay,
new
Jake,
to me.
This is great, Jake. So as I was saying, my ex-wife, who lived in Missouri, said it was a big deal. Like, here comes the Swanson truck. And you may even relate to this, that you said, whatever, grandmother's like, for the kids, here it comes. Here comes the Swanson truck after you're down to maybe the dregs or whatever that mom doesn't cook toward that end of the week. I can only feel what I can relate to since I didn't have the Swanson truck. The way that was described to me about everyone going ape shit over, here it comes, coming around the corner, was the same deal as we had for the ice cream man.
I was going to say the ice cream man was. I can relate to that a bit more.
Yeah.
Yes.
We rarely had the ice cream man in my neighborhood.
In Georgia.
Well, it existed in other neighborhoods, but not in my neighborhood. But you remember that.
You were more well off.
No, it wasn't that. I think it was because it was old, because my parents were old, and I was like the only kid in my neighborhood. I mean, I had siblings, but I was, younger. And so they were going to probably better hot spots. I don't know that my neighborhood was very geriatric. I don't know it was a hot spot for the ice cream truck.
Not a lot of children.
No.
Yeah, the ice cream
like
man was
the Sun City,
Yes.
retirement community.
Yeah, that was kind of what it was. Back in the 60s, I'm sure it was more vibrant, but by the time I was rolling around, it was a little older.
So I did many years ago, I started a documentary about the ice cream man.
You did?
I did. And this was a long time ago. You would have been here, Robbie.
I would have been in Atlanta.
You would have been in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure you would have been. Maybe you had just gone out to go to Davis. But I started realizing it's so funny that we kind of even touched into this just a little bit. I started working in the film business, and I was realizing the example just given. I was like, damn, and when I'm in a city, I see the ice cream man all the time, right? In the inner city, driving through the hood.
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta, and like I'm
in
talking
Atlanta proper,
about,
as opposed for Jake, that Mike grew up in Marietta, Georgia as well, and so we're out in the burbs.
Yes.
We weren't, in downtown Atlanta.
Right, but we get to the inner city, and then I moved to the inner city, and the ice cream man. I see the ice cream man, and there was a particular studio that I worked at that I would see. I'd see the lot of ice cream trucks. And it was so funny to me, and hence the inspiration for the documentary, because that lot looked like it was the lot for a Cheech and Chong movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You had like the big,
nice dreams. Nice dreams of the Cheech and Chong movie with the ice cream. Yeah. Nice dreams.
But like characters and everything.
Yeah.
You got the shittiest beat up trucks. I can't believe these things could actually, pass any kind of inspection to be on the road. I'm not sure how they did it. And the people that were driving said trucks,
completely.
Right? Yeah. And so I was like,
usually a pedophile.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, they're around your children a lot.
Well, I know, but that was the whole thing.
So you get it. Even all that I was like, I got to find out more about what the hell goes down.
Yeah. And you wanted to fly on the wall.
So I did. Me and another guy, Scott Ippolito, Robbie, if you know, a photographer, Ippy. We got into a truck and we rolled with this guy for a while, right?
Yeah.
And
you got in his truck.
We rolled with him for a while, like
Did he offer
a week
you free
or
ice cream
so.
to get in?
No free ice cream. There was nothing free about this truck. And but what would go down is, it's kind of like I essentially live in the hood now. I live essentially where Outcast started. Right out the window, I can see where it was. See the
You see Andre 3000?
I can see where Andre and Big Boy met at by the Wayfield Grocery right now, where I can see. Anyway, this guy would not only peddle ice cream, he was peddling sandwiches.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
Other things.
I thought you were gonna say other things.
No.
Nothing illegal.
I was kind of in terms of for the documentary, hoping we might get into a little more, let's say not salacious enough to get me thrown in jail, but some kind of dynamic sandwiches, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was being recorded, so there might have been
maybe.
So hold on, this is a good segue though, because I know we like I was saying, I like the format of how this show is going, because we've done so many different things, and we will help the audience understand Jake's background here and how he got into being the current chef that he is. But, and anything we say, Jake, you can always come back later and go cut that. I don't want to talk about it. But is it true or not true that you have an interest in developing a food truck?
Food truck, maybe not necessarily.
Really? I thought you were going to say for sure.
No, I think that era has kind of died off.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
I think it's the era of pop-ups.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So describe that, and actually this is going to be educational for me, because so you're not talking about a truck with wheels, but a pop-up kitchen, and what because it has the same feel. I mean, essentially a food truck was a pop-up.
Yeah.
But
it was your own, and you kind of have there's a little more money involved. You have to have a little more financial backing. Anyone can kind of do a pop-up.
So tell me how the pop-up works. Where are you cooking? In my kitchen?
You could, if that was something that we wanted to put together, you could do that. I mean, it's happening a lot now with guest chef series or people working in kitchens that are a collective.
Okay.
So there's spaces that people have a rotation of cooks or chefs or anyone that wants to try something out.
Do we have that here in Napa?
Actually, we do.
Where?
We have a spot in.
You?
No,
Oh.
not me necessarily.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant and bar in town called Folklore. That's doing,
Oh yeah. I didn't realize that's what that was.
Yeah. So on Mondays they're doing kind of a guest chef gives their kitchen in their space, the day off. So they don't have to work 7 days a week, and then it also gives people the opportunity to do something a little bit on their own.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, bring a little bit of some eyeballs to what they're doing, or give them. Go ahead.
I think it's awesome. I love pop-ups. I like the idea of pop-ups. I mean, it's a very expensive business, obviously. To get yourself started where you can, deliver your goods and what you do. And even before going into that, let's tell our audience of millions of people that we have on this episode.
The last time
right
I
now,
checked, we officially hit 1 million streams.
Have you?
It could be. It's very.
I'll just keep downloading.
Eventually, there you go.
Hey,
I
listen,
didn't say unique listeners. I said 1 million downloads, which 950,000 of them are mine.
Totally.
Well,
Hey,
my mom is one of them.
Okay, good.
After I told her I was coming in.
Okay,
she was
good.
like, I listened to the episode, Josh.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good. Good.
Hey, one person's 93% humidity is another person's 37% humidity, right. So it's just your perspective on the numbers. But we have said, I have used the name Chef Jake, right?
Correct.
And we have said he came here to cook or whatever we haven't described. Let's talk about, Robbie, will you tell me a little bit about who is this guy that's sitting next to you, this dashingly handsome dude? Obviously,
why would I be telling you who he is when he can
tell
us
I want
who
to
he
tell
is?
you who is this guy.
Well,
yes.
I'll at least tell you like my introduction, how I know him, why he's here, is because as fans of the show will know that I make wine for Del Dotto, and we've had Dave Del Dotto on here. And additionally, we've had the former chef at Del Dotto, Chef Joshua Schwartz, here on the show. And it was through me hanging out with Dave Del Dotto and with Joshua Schwartz and being around the kitchen, and my son going into work in the kitchen there at Del Dotto, that I started hanging out more with Chef Jake. Now, and that was, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Winton was like 13 and he's like 18 now.
He was a freshman.
Five. Was he even a freshman, or he was just 8th grade into a freshman year, something like that? And so
I don't know. He's always been taller than me.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. I think when he started, he was about your height, and now he's like whatever. But anyway, so it was lovely, just like Joshua and several of the people there in the kitchen that really mentored Winton. I thought Jake was a cool guy. I thought he had talent or whatever, but it was, really heartwarming that he took so much time to be patient with Winton and mentor him and, whatever. So I was like, this guy's pretty cool. Well, time, passes. He gains a lot more experience. Chef Joshua moves on to do his, fishing business. And who else could be better to step up to the plate is Chef Jake. So that's where he is now, as being the head chef at Del Dotto.
Fantastic.
And so that's my introduction. And also, Mike, you were saying for the listener, I think it should be the reverse. I mean, normally I'm the one kind of like running these interviews, but because you don't, false. You do know Chef Jake because, again, listeners of the show realize that you came out here last harvest.
I did.
And you had the good fortune, even though we were busy in the Vineyards and Winery, you had the good fortune of meeting Chef Jake at that time.
Very true.
So it was in brief passing. So
Yes.
you're the one who doesn't understand his full story. And
Listen,
so,
I don't even understand my own full story.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's
it
okay.
is interesting because let's go back into saying like the Swanson foods. And so growing up, you're not from a culinary family, and I know the background of how you move into this, but it was just like how did you, what age were you starting to like get involved in restaurants, and what capacities and for what reason, that sort of thing. So what was your first restaurant job?
Paid or unpaid?
It doesn't matter. Unpaid.
I mean, I kind of did grow up in the industry and restaurants. My mom kind of ran a bunch of like catering style gigs and was always in that area of the industry, in and out. You know, she had art studios and ran art clubs, and at one point was, with her ex, a club owner. And they had a
Okay.
restaurant, or
Yeah.
not a restaurant, but a kitchen, because as most know, that it's pretty difficult to get a full liquor license.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to do, like it's like probably like 40%, food
Food
sales,
Yeah.
Sure.
in order to serve alcohol. So they had a kitchen in there, and I would just kind of go and mess around and build stuff. I was probably more in the way than anything else.
Yeah. Was it just?
Yeah.
10 or 12?
But was that
Yeah.
just because that was what was going on, or was it like, ooh, this is cool. I like food, or was it just something that was just kind of around?
No, I mean, I did like, I liked being in the kitchen. It's kind of a group of people that I've always, gotten along with.
Right.
A ragtag kind of hard
Sure.
living, fun group
Yeah.
of people, always kind of messing around and making jokes and making fun of each other. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Now,
So
but I grew up
was
with,
Jake, was your mom? Would you have said your mom was an artist?
I mean, yeah, she definitely was an artist of her own right, but she more like appreciated the arts,
Sure.
and was, organized a lot of art crawls and
Sure.
around music a lot. I mean, she worked at the Brown Top Derby for a long time, and like it just constantly living in LA. You're constantly around music. And
Yeah.
art.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you're not,
and a whole culture and everything that
Yeah.
surrounds that. And this is, don't want to put words in your mouth. I've said this before from my expression of how I got into the food and wine industry was through restaurants, sure, but it wasn't that I was a foodie or I eventually learned to love wine. It was the environment of the people. Right, I've said before, restaurant people.
Yeah, it's a little
and so
chaotic.
is that what you were after?
Yeah,
Sure.
a little
Cool. I like to mess around in the kitchen, but just like as you described, it's like that was the culture you're around. L.A. music, art, food, a club, a bar. And it was that whole scene, like you said, surly characters and whatever else.
yeah.
And that's what, like, you're like, I like these people.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I was a pretty quiet kid. And so it was, I liked just observing and kind of doing my own thing, but being around the chaos, because it, it
It felt
it's
right.
fun. Yeah. But I mean, I did grow up in the kitchen with my grandmother, every year, especially around the holidays, helping out and, licking a lot of batter,
Yeah.
spoons
Oh, yeah.
and whatnot. It was much different. It was like, I grew up very Americana style cuisine at home. It was putting a lipstick on a Betty Crocker box.
I was just going to throw out
Yeah.
Betty Crocker again.
Yeah.
You
Oh my God.
being a young 30-year-old, if Betty Crocker meant anything to you. But I literally cooked out of the Betty Crocker cookbook with my parents.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have it. Wait, that's the checkerboard. That's a red
Yeah.
checkerboard, is
Yep.
it not? Yes.
Yep.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how you transition? A friend and I were talking about what we're talking about right now. That it kind of goes back to the Swanson man or the Betty Crocker. He mentioned some type of a food like some kind of process. You just put it in water or whatever. And this guy, by the way, is I would definitely call him a foodie now.
Yeah.
And he said, "Do you believe this? This was the type of thing that like my mom just fixed." All the time. Can you believe that? Like, this is so unbelievable to me because I know him of how he is right now. And I said, that's completely believable, because we had like the Martha White bagged blueberry pancakes. The blueberries are obviously like candy
freeze-dried
processed
or whatever.
bullshit. You know, it's like it's nothing. It's not real. That I can recall the first time of really having true blueberry pancakes. And it was off-putting to me, because I was like, I loved those other blueberry pancakes so much. I was like,
soggy.
yeah, I was like, what in the hell is this? So there is even like this transitional period, even to someone that is like you, that is a chef now, that you have to go. You only know culturally what you know, right?
Yeah.
And then you slowly start to evolve with everything, and that takes a little bit of bravery, I think, sometimes too, because you got to step outside of things that are your comfort zone.
No,
Right? To
for
start
sure.
moving into what you're doing now.
No, I did say I grew up very, the Americana style cuisine at home, and then
Sure.
there was some box things, but I mean, both my grandparents are which I spent a large majority of my childhood with. They're great cooks.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather was. He stuck to what he knew, but he was on the grill
Sure.
every single night. I mean,
Okay.
we had dinner.
Yeah.
Anytime that I was at that house, it was dinner together, sitting down, and
Yeah.
enjoying it, and it was done very well. I don't remember ever having a bad meal growing up, except for sometimes actually with my mother, but it was because she was
Mom, I
she was
apologize.
testing-
I did not.
Oh, she knows. I've told her.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
she was always testing stuff out, and she wanted to try new things.
Sure.
And she was a great cook too, and still is to this day. But she did some funky things every once in a while, and she was pretty aware of it.
Well, that's how we all get better, right? And that kind of leads the question I would have for you is like, can you like pinpoint a particular time? Because you can make comfort foods, but you can also put some very, very high level things down on the plate. Can you remember a particular transition through, any point in your, post high school going into what you did now, where you pivoted from just like granddad is great on the grill and he makes an amazing dinner, to where you're having more, of a French influence or a more high level, I don't want to put a label on it, but a high level culinary shift? Can you remember, is there a pivot point when that happens?
Yeah, probably when I started going out and not getting taken to restaurants, but like actually going out and eating at restaurants on my own.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be taken to some pretty great restaurants in different places around, even the country. But like, as I said, my grandparents were great cooks, but they also really liked dining. And we would go to some pretty amazing restaurants in, Los Angeles, or, we went on a road trip when I was young, and did all of the national parks on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I had dinner at Jenny Lake Lodge, and it was pretty incredible. I had to learn how to use a spoon right, so I didn't offend anyone.
Yeah.
But it started young, enjoying and appreciating the finer dining.
Sure.
But I think going out and spending my own money, and going and dining on my own and taking myself or going with friends to places instead of being taken, as a child. I think that's where a big shift happened. But I know you said, was it you that said, comfort foods?
Yeah.
And I think as someone who cooks and writes menus and what have you, everything's kind of a comfort food when you write a menu, because it's things that you are comfortable, number one, with, but mean something to you, and you just kind of put your own spin on it so that it either looks more elegant or is more appealing to
elevated.
the eye. More elevated or appealing to the eye. But you're really like you're writing a menu so that we write menus to pair with wine, or I do, but at the end of the day, you want to make something that everyone kind of has an emotional connection to.
Absolutely.
So
an experience. You're an experience.
That they're literally comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
a good point. And you know what I mean when I say the comfort food, meaning, mashed potatoes and mac and cheese and whatever, and fried chicken, which you just did yesterday.
But if you can take those flavors and,
elevate it
to, a bite-sized thing or something with a microgreen and a tweezer.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it becomes fine dining. But at the end of the day,
Yes.
it comes down to flavors and technique.
Yes.
Yes. But
Okay.
I
So
think that's important. Hold on, Mike, because I
yeah.
like this because the word technique is very
Mm-hmm.
important. And to me, like that's what's going to separate you from a chef that doesn't have your technique. It's your technique that brings you to a higher level.
Hmm.
And so it isn't necessarily about the actual particular dish, but it's the technique in which you cook and prepare that. So just say whatever the main protein is, just your technique and how you prepare that main protein. But then there's the other twist too, when it becomes art and elevated. Plating. Plating alone is something that's very important, and of course you have to plate in a beautiful way. But however you're plating that protein, also has to have the flavor and the comfort and everything. And that's a talent that you have
Yeah.
that
It's a
makes it
balance too. Sometimes
different.
you don't want something to look super, super tight and elegant.
Hmm.
You want it to be a little bit more rustic looking because you're using maybe, a protein or something that's a bit more fussy or
Mm-hmm.
stuffy, to
Yeah.
lack of a better word. So you want to kind of downplay that a little bit. You
Um,
know?
and what about when, like, say, go back to Granddad? So
Mhm.
he's makes amazing dinners for you, and he obviously has good technique because he's making these amazing proteins on the grill or whatever else. But um,
Dependent on how much wine you're
Okay,
drinking,
fair enough,
whether
fair
or not
enough.
the
I,
technique was
I,
on
I
point
know that
there.
problem. I know that problem. But then, like, would he be into the final touches? Would he be into the plating? He would not be with the tweezers and microgreens.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that there is a distinct difference between, at home food, and I don't garnish things at home either.
you don't.
I'm lucky if I cook a full meal. It's usually
Mm.
something that is in the fridge and I'm like, yeah, I'll make that work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but like on a Sunday like today, if we weren't doing the world famous podcast, like, do
Yep,
you
1
ever?
million.
I know it's not every single night, but once in a while, if you have a free day, do you at home do experiments in the kitchen, or do you save that for work? That's a different thing.
I used to do that more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think that was more so because I spent more time at work, very focused on, a prep list or what needed to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Now I kind of have the opportunity to do a little bit more experimenting at work because
Hmm.
I have a team of people that, work really hard for
Help
me
help you out.
and
Yeah.
help me
Yeah.
out. So I have the ability to kind of, you know, uh, do a little R&D and poke around and whatnot. At home, I spend more time, writing prep lists or menus or ordering or
Yeah.
what have you now, whereas I didn't have to do that before. So I could go to the grocery store on Sunday and, take something and mess around with it.
Now,
And
sorry, Mike, I keep interrupting because I have all the questions now. All of a sudden, it's like I want to learn more about this.
I do
So,
too. I
because
mean,
I want these opinions. So, Mike, you've gotten to see Chef Jake's kitchen there
mhm.
at Del Dotto, and it's crazy amazing. I mean, I take people in there all the time just to go look at the pots and pans,
Mhm.
look at the range. I mean, it's like so good. So, do you ever at home? Do you get frustrated going, I wish I had my stuff from work?
Well, yeah, I mean that is a good point
Yeah.
because first of all, I don't have a dishwasher at home either, so that plays.
And you don't have a $500,000 range?
Yeah, and I mean that does play into it. We rent a condo and it's an electric,
Yeah.
stovetop,
Yeah.
and it's it doesn't necessarily translate to how I would be cooking at work
Mhm.
either
Mhm.
with the equipment that I have there. So it's almost sometimes doing me a disservice to figure out how to do something really well at home
Yeah.
and then have to translate that back into doing it at work. There's a humongous difference, and that's why people, they go out and they have a meal at a restaurant and they're like, I want to do that at home. It's a lot of the times not necessarily possible because they
No.
don't have a $250,000 Maltini range at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
And you also don't have a team. You don't
correct.
have what's the word I'm looking for? Not battalion. The
The brigade.
The brigade.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, well, you're, doing one thing, you have someone helping you out with plating, and you can, do things are happening at once. When I cook alone and I'm trying to do all the phases of a dish, it on 4 burners, it's hard. It's you can't create the same thing that you can create in the restaurant
Oh yeah,
in professional kitchen.
Definitely.
Here's a question that I have.
Go ahead,
I'm going
Mike.
to throw this
Sorry,
question
Mike.
because this is I feel you have a bit of a unique experience as a chef because you are a chef in a winery, right? So as a chef, let's say you're just a chef, and this kind of comes full circle back to us talking about you have a restaurant. It's the Bear. You're starting your own restaurant right now, which that's its own subject we should get into. Or the pop-up, because now I can't afford to have this, but I don't have the pop-up. My chef, you have a unique experience that the wine is the driving force. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm interjecting this. I think the wine is the driving force in the winery. So Chef Jake, you have to kind of put that am I right that you have to put that at the forefront of your mind in creating your menu? So let me ask you, what is your process and how you go about doing that instead of like what we just talked about? You're at home and go, I'm Chef Thomas Keller, of the French Laundry. I'm going to fucking make whatever because I'm going to put it in my restaurant tonight, the French Laundry. But you're having to think about, there are these wines. So what's that process like?
I mean, yeah, it is a very unique situation. Where most restaurants have a sommelier or in fine dining restaurants, or even if not, in more casual dining restaurants, you write a menu and build a menu around what you think the guest is going to order and what they want, and making great dishes. And then you have someone doing the opposite of what we're doing and pairing the wine or the beer or tea. Even there's
Right.
they have so many different things now to the dish itself, through their catalog of all the wines and what have you that they have in house. I have to write a menu that pairs with what is being served. So it's it's the exact opposite, basically.
Yes.
And what at the end of the day, being at a winery, I mean, we want to sell wine and want people to enjoy the wine. This is the food is an add-on. I hope it's a enjoyed add-on, but
sure.
It has to complement the wine as best.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I read a lot of books and spent a lot of time kind of drinking and trying the wines and seeing what flavors work with them. And I think we found some staple flavors, and we kind of just bounce around.
Very interesting to me, because it would be as if like you're the sommelier of food.
Yeah.
As
it is a reverse
right?
thing.
Hey friends, Mike Anderson here for Drop the Check. Have you ever had the perfect bubble? I mean, what is the perfect bubble? Is it that one that you got from stuffing 6 wads of gum in your mouth next to the baseball field? Or maybe the ones that you blew for your kid's 2nd birthday party? For me, it's probably the one that I stick over my head when someone asks me to be on a Zoom call. But if you really want the perfect bubble, try Topo Chico. Topo Chico is the best sparkling water because the bubbles are perfect. And if there's ever a collaboration between Topo Chico and Pearson Meyer Wines, perfection times 2. Topo Chico, the bubbles are perfect.
Well, one of the things that, recently, I mean, in many ways we've done this for a long time, but more recently, especially since, Chef Jake is kind of like in charge now of the program.
Well, not kind of.
Well,
oh, yeah. There we go.
Okay, sorry, Chef. See? Surly.
Yeah. Hey,
they get it up. But
too bad you don't have a Charles Chip can that he can kick over right now. Did you hear that?
Exactly. Well, he could throw some Topo Chico in my face.
I could.
Watch out. That's high class stuff there.
It is. It's very bubbly too. I will say.
See, it's about the bubbles. It's
Thank
the
you.
perfect
But it is.
bubble.
I took a big sip, and all of a sudden, my whole mouth started to.
Damn.
Did you
bubble.
hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Topo Chico?
The perfect bubble.
Are we Are we getting sponsored by this now?
Yeah,
We're
yes, of
trying
course.
to.
Yeah, no, we are.
Okay.
Do you need me to make some phone calls?
Yes, please.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know who I'm gonna call, but I'll
You're
call someone.
you're purveyor. You're purveyor. Because we can't seem to get anyone. They've liked our shows and they've liked
Yes.
our Instagram posts, but we can't get them on the horn because I don't know if the checkbook is tight or whatever.
No, they're busy. They're
Yeah.
getting flooded with so many interactions
because we
and
promote
calls
them.
from us.
They've
That's right.
been running out of product
Exactly.
all over.
Exactly. They have been.
So anyway, one of my gratifying things I've said before, like, you know, it's fun for me to do like winemaker dinners because I get to see my wine through a different light, how the chef might perceive that and what they're pairing it with. And so that's happened, you know, over time. But, you know, more recently, when did it start? Like the spring when we started doing a couple of dinners.
Oh, the lunches, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
we put together the winemaker's lunch that was you know, feature some wines.
Yeah, featuring some particular Del Dotto wines.
Yeah.
You know, not really the point, but like a thing about being in the industry and being in our community and being in Napa Valley. That, like, you know, Jake just comes over to, you know, we're going to talk about the menu, and I'm like, dude, why don't you just, you know, come over to the house and let's just sit on the porch and have a glass of wine. And you know, he's got his menu, and I always defer, of course, as I would always defer to the food, to the chef, but him going, okay, well, what about this sauce? There was one in particular. I think we were pairing a Syrah, and you were going to do like a huckleberry.
Oh, it was the Pinot.
The Pinot, and what was, I can't even remember what it was now, but it was so pleasing to me to like him to go, here's this idea, and I was like, well, what about instead of, what do you remember what it was?
I think I said huckleberry, and we talked about, or maybe it was cherry. I don't know.
Yeah.
You said something to the effect of like a lingonberry or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that, but I think huckleberries would be great. And you're like, oh it's perfect.
But discussing with him his knowledge and everything about the food, and me being able to kind of like sit back willy-nilly and go, well, hey, look, I'm really close with these wines, and and him just like bouncing ideas off of me and me bouncing ideas off of him, and then that's just us sitting on the porch. And then, you know, you go a week later and we have the dinner, and he's produced everything, or he's chefed everything, and it was just so cool. It was one of the more fun experiences I've ever had.
I mean, we have a really unique situation in itself anyways, because we happen to be, you know, friends, and you invited me over to the house, and you can sit there and we could candidly talk about something that you do have a close relationship with, you know, in these wines that you've produced, and you've kind of got to see them through every part of their process, down to, you know, the grapes growing, you going through harvest and crush, and then fermentation, and then watching them develop in a bottle. Whereas, like, I wasn't around actually for any part of that process, especially because, you know, these wines were made maybe like 10 or so years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't at the winery,
right.
You know, and so I think that's a pretty incredible situation to be put in, because if you're in it's very unique. But if I were to be in a restaurant, I'd never be able to even talk to the producer of a wine, even if I wanted to, you know, work backwards in that way.
Yeah,
like this is something that you can't get really anywhere else in the world. I mean,
I will, and just it doesn't matter if anywhere in the world, but it doesn't always happen where you can have that type of thing where two professionals get along and they're friends and we're passionate about our arts and we get to collaborate and do that. It's kind of like performing music or something. And there's like a bass player you always wanted to play with, and you know, exactly. Well, that's why I was like, I thought you might have an interest in the food truck thing, but you know, as you experiment around with any pop-ups or anything like that, you know, you can't leave me out.
No, I wouldn't leave you out. See,
maybe there is some kind of combo.
I want to be a part of that.
Maybe there is some kind of combo there. Like there could be, if there's a pop-up over here, if there's, I mean, I know we have to deal with the liquor laws and beer, you know, but if there's a place where you can get your your wine, the wine that you make, Robbie, the delicious wine that you make, that with your pop-up over here, right, that you can produce the foods that this guy right over here is selling his wine, that you guys can pop up, prepare together.
Yeah, I
then
mean,
maybe that's an avenue.
There's a ability to do a collaboration in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the liquor laws for like events and banquets and like trucks and things. I mean, it's a lot easier with wine than it is with alcohol. But I mean, you see people who have like the trucks and trailers that do weddings and what have you with you know, wine and beer and I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but I don't think it's impossible.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Hey, it's all at your house, Robbie. Let's just do it at your house.
Oh, okay. No,
actually, yeah. I mean,
so this is a thing now, and I can't remember the article that I read. It might have been in San Francisco, but it has become such a thing. Mike, I don't know if in Atlanta this is a thing, and Jake, you probably know more about it than I do, but there's lots of these kind of like pop-up or whatever in-home restaurants where people are coming who don't.
Yes.
It's not just a dinner party. It's like people coming from the outside that like, hey, Chef Jake is cooking tonight, and people come into the private residence, and this is all above board. But in certain areas, people are starting to complain about it because of like traffic and things like that. But what are the legalities of that? Can I just open up my house and we can have a dinner service one evening for 30 people, and people make reservations, and you charge them $200 a head, whatever the case may be?
I would suggest telling them that it's a donation, and then
okay. So is that what it is? It has to be that way.
I'm not a lawyer, but
but
there's ways to get
get around it.
some of the things. I mean,
but it seems like
idea.
this is a trend, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes.
It's really expensive to run and operate a brick and mortar.
Very much so.
And so people are going to people always find a way. So
exactly, and hence the pop-up. So maybe this is like, it's the food truck, the pop-up. I don't know which one is, chicken or egg between those two, but you're right, Robbie. These things are happening here too, because you're right. Brick and mortar, that's expensive, and a lot of times the expense and the energy of getting to do that, and the expense, it may like have the pull going southward before it puts too much pressure on you as a culinary artist, right? Because you now have to produce, you have to make money to make up for all of that expense up front. So if there's a way to do it, this is across a lot of arts right now. Within film and music, people have computers and they have apps and things that just your creativity at one time was just a studio that you had to them. People have the ability to do that as long as you have the resource, the output to do it. So if you have somebody like our great chef here that finds a place that can show off his skills, then it's go do it. So here we go. It's already starting right now. Robbie Meyer.
Yeah.
Great winemaker, Robbie Meyer.
Yeah.
Chef Jake, here we go. We're going. I'm coming. In fact, I'm coming out there.
We got this.
Thank you guys
right
for
here at
me.
the studio. The studio is right here at the table. We can do it. Here we have the outdoor seating. We have the. Oh God, sorry, I got excited there. I got excited. I got excited. But here's the interesting thing, though.
Yeah.
Like when food trucks, were becoming more popular, and I'm sure this happened in other towns. It happened in our town, and there was a local chef here who, he wasn't angry, but he was just pointing out, like, hey, you made me go through all of these things to get this different licensing and to run a restaurant, to have, what's the, not FDA, but, you have to get all the approval from the health board and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that I have to have bricks and mortar. And now you're letting someone come in with a food truck that they could be living in a different town. They could have different, whole different expense ratio. Yeah. And that they can just roll in and have a restaurant and roll out anytime they want, and they're not paying property taxes and blah 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 blah.
They still have to
Of course, they have to abide by the laws, but
Right.
I get the point of the bricks and mortar person who's like, hey, you want me to be a part of your community and I'm investing in this way, and you're just going to roll in with this, or you're going to have a pop-up, or you're going to serve dinner in your private home. That's, even if we're, legally paying taxes and passing food codes and all that, I can get their point. I can get their gripe.
It's also, I mean, there's give and take with both. I
Yeah.
mean, having a brick and mortar is you have the ability to have consistency.
Yeah, of course.
Consistency in a lot of ways. Mostly, you have the ability to have a consistent customer base. There was one famous person who did very well, that being the Galby truck in Los Angeles, and his name's escaping me right now.
I don't know.
Yeah, but and he gained a humongous following via social media, and he would just bounce around, and everyone would follow him. But if you have a brick and mortar, it's like that place is there. You can look at their hours online.
Sure.
It's not going to move.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take with consistency, because sometimes maybe your truck breaks down and you can't drive to where you're going to get customers anymore, or you get kicked out of an area because someone else is there, or the cops don't want you parking there anymore. So I mean, it's a give and take. I don't think I've never heard of any restaurant or chef being angry that food trucks exist, and I don't think any food trucks are mad that restaurants exist either. I think it's pretty symbiotic.
Yeah. This is a local chef who you would know, but he's
say his name.
He's bad. No,
I'm just kidding.
We don't do that.
Just kidding.
Anyway, but
maybe
Mike,
he was just angry in general.
Mike, I know that you were or are a fan of. Well, I don't know a fan, but observationally, you're interested in the television series, whatever, the Hulu series, The Bear.
Correct.
And
I am.
And you were kind of asking me ahead of time, like, I guess, did you see some similarities, or just were you curious of Jake's opinion on that?
Well, this is what I would be curious to any chef. This could go to both of you guys, because there's a conversation, and maybe we had it on here, or it was somewhere else, that had to do with wine, with, say, a movie like Sideways.
Yeah.
The effect that Sideways had on the wine industry in Napa. I'm pretty sure it was on here. One of our other winemakers just said,
Joey, I think Joey Wagner was talking about.
Joey Wagner talked about, like, all of a sudden the boom that happened with that, the influence.
Tanked Merlot.
And it's,
Tanked Merlot.
How about that? And the influence, the overall influence one can have. So then we're living through that again. There's two things going on right now that is somewhat popular, right? Obviously, The Bear, with the popularity of everything that it has with restaurant and starting a restaurant, things that we're talking about. And then with wine and food, I don't know if you're familiar with Drops of God. There's another Apple Plus or Netflix series that has to do with, now it's wine and wine pairing and this and that. So as I'm watching both of these almost simultaneously, different networks, I wanted to have the opportunity to talk to both of you guys about, like, you're on this side of the industry, you're there, right? That these things happen and it becomes like the new hula hoop, or the new Crocs that everyone's, or whatever, this trend that's happening.
How people perceive it. So I want to ask Jake first, because I think it's more pertinent, or whatever, close to him, about, like, The Bear. And you've seen The Bear, yeah?
I have.
And yeah, just, that's it. Your observation. Just give it, like, a critique of it.
Well, first, I thought, when you asked me if I had watched Drops of God.
Yeah. I
had never seen it. I looked into it, and I was like, oh, okay, I have to pay attention. It's in Japanese, English, and French.
And French, also.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And then I started the series, and it, by the way, great series.
Sure.
And I thought you were messing with me a little bit.
I thought Mike was messing with me.
Okay, yeah, I thought Mike was messing with me a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to show up, and you guys were going to have a bunch of stuff for me to taste and then try and test me.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's funny. I never thought about that angle.
Well,
Maybe like, okay, let's see what he actually knows.
The podcast isn't over yet. Keep talking.
True. But so my opinion on how it's, like, affected our industry, both industries, Um, the food industry has been affected by TV for a long time. I
Sure.
mean, the Food Network back in, the 90s and early 2000s when like Emeril
Sure.
Lagasse
Yeah.
and
Of course.
what have you, they popularized becoming, what you call a foodie, which I'm curious what you guys define foodie as.
I don't know.
It's an interesting word to me.
Yeah.
It kind of
Completely.
makes me
Cringe.
cringe a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
Of
know.
course. Yeah.
But I think it affects the food industry less than the wine industry would be affected, just because it's already been in popular culture for as long as it has. Like there was a boom of like being a chef was cool for a long time, and
I think it still
still
is.
kind of has that like
So
stigma behind it.
Yeah, so like just talk about then like the bear in particular. I mean, isn't that what it's about? Like it certainly romanticizes
It does.
being a chef, and it's like, oh, it's difficult, and oh, you got to do this, and oh, you do the right thing, and oh, it's long hours, but it makes it like romantic and cool.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't paint the picture of like there's a reason why chefs are angry and arrogant because
Yeah.
fucking it's a hard damn job.
Yeah.
And while on the TV show they like make it a hard job, they make it romantic.
They do. I think out of every movie or piece of media that's ever covered the life of someone that's in the industry,
Yeah.
they do a pretty good job. It's fairly accurate, not necessarily even in the ways that like a restaurant is run, because every restaurant's unique, but
Sure.
the emotion that happens with a
Yeah.
lot of it, and like in the actual like I think they do the technique very well on the show.
Yeah.
Obviously there has to be a story that people are going to want to watch, so
Completely.
they add in embellishments and flurries and what have you.
Sure.
But I do think they do a pretty good job. I think that it's brought more people into the eyes of like they realize how much of a masochist most people in the industry are.
Yeah.
But
Right.
well, yeah, but
Like you kind of enjoy the grind in the dirt and want to get beat up a little bit in order to feel
Okay.
good at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
okay, I like that perspective. I'm
Yeah.
more pessimistic, like like in terms of like Drops of God or Sideways. I don't think that while there's been, to me, in my opinion, 1,000 great food movies, I can't tell you a single great wine movie, whether it's a documentary, a series, or or an actual movie.
Well, it's because it hits too close to home for you.
It may be so, but
Yeah.
what all I can do when I see those things is I just look all the like mistakes, misspeaks,
It's cringy.
just false. It's so cringy.
Yeah.
It's like no, they're like in Drops of God, in terms of its writing, its direction, its production. All those things are great. But like they're like right at the beginning, there's like the dad with the girl blindfolded, and
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
that is not
Yeah.
tea or
Yes.
whatever she says, and like I spent so much time with my kids when they were little, and that's not what any parent's ever going to do. I know it's great for the story, but did I get first immediately trained the kids of like, is this wine white or red? Oh, this is white. Okay. Um, if it's white, do you think what varietal might it be? Sauvignon Blanc? No. What's another one? Chardonnay. Okay. You do those types of things, but it's not. You're not putting a freaking 6-year-old at the table and blindfolded and like smacking her like a Catholic school teacher on the wrist with the ruler, going wrong. That doesn't exist.
You're also a good dad. Not everyone has that opportunity to have one of those sometimes.
I don't know of my friends or anyone else.
No, I don't.
What they've grown up about that. So I mean that's one little scenario. But with these food and wine movies, I guess what I don't like is the romanticizing of it all. But that's because I'm an old curmudgeon, and Chef Jake, much more well put, that, hey, someone wants to watch a movie, so you got to have some sort of drama or something.
You want the accuracies of certain parts of it, but there's always going to be embellishments. I mean, it's the same with any industry. I mean, you talk to a firefighter that watched Backdraft,
totally.
and they're going to be like, what the hell is
Totally,
this? You know,
totally.
Yeah.
The medical dramas is the same.
Yeah.
People watching.
Yeah, and I
ER.
think the shows, I mean, and back to how it pertains to the kitchen and or wine, the shows that have kind of the critical event, the drama, if you will, that has to happen in a very condensed amount of time. A fire, you have to rescue somebody from a fire. That's really quickly, you build drama around that, right? Obviously, service for the night. There's a lot of things that go into that, of all the orders, all the food, all the people, all the preparation. That's within one night that you have a lot of drama for the film side of it to portray that in a night. The deal with wine is the drama. When is that drama? I don't know, Robbie, if we were to like try to condense drama into your harvest, right? That the truck is breaking down or it's raining or whatever, because now you're talking about it's over a long period of time that we're going that drama for what that. So you're right too. The impact, what I was basically trying to say was like, what do you guys feel about the impact? Like what you said, the romanticism about wine now. Oh my God, we got to have wine, and we got to have the best wine because the show is so popular.
Yeah, so that's what I don't like
cool.
is that, well, okay, see, again, you're more positive than I am.
Well, I'm not saying that that's a good thing.
Well, but what I don't like is when it's, one, that when it's false, because then people think like, oh, this is what you do. And it's like, no, that's not what I do. And then number two is that I actually think this loops back into you saying like, I growing up, there was, the club, the bar, the restaurant, and the kind of like surly people, and me talking about restaurant people. There is so much built-in drama, and there's so much built-in intrigue. It's like, why can't you just capture that? Yeah. Why do you want to tell a false story? Because if I want to hook up with someone who's writing a great wine movie, and allow me to collaborate with them for free. This is the offer out there for our millions of listeners. That write your storyline, write your arc or whatever. But let me substitute in, reality, which is equally drama packed, and reality and truth versus this, Hollywood version of it.
So wait a minute though. So you hang on.
Go.
You and now I'm gonna counter you with this. This may work in your favor though, Robbie. What I said, if a show like Drops of God drives people to you and Jake at Del Dotto, what do? You're there as the expert. Now there's more people. Let's say 10% more people come. Right now they go, we're going to book a vacation. Howard, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Miami? No, I don't want to. No, I want to go to Napa. We're going to go to Napa because we love Drops of God. We want wine so much. They go to Del Dotto and now they have these preconceived, albeit false ideas about wine, and now they're with an expert. And they go, we learned. You said this on some of your wine tours here lately. You said, someone said, how do you infuse this with the cherry juice?
We got to get that guy on the podcast. He's a great guy.
Sounds like a stupid question, but it's like, if you don't know,
you don't know. We're going to have this guy on the podcast.
Now you can be the person that is the expert to them, that they got them there to you, and maybe everybody wins.
That's a huge part of our industry, is gracefully educating people.
There we
you don't want to make someone feel dumb because they asked a question or because they don't understand something, because we have the information, and it may seem silly to us, but you wouldn't. Here's my thing, and a writer or a producer or what have you that's making these movies, you wouldn't tell them how to write.
You're right.
So
well, no, I would.
Well, but I mean they spent their life doing that, and you feel the same way about like them telling you how to make wine or what your knowledge is in the wine industry. But at the end of the day, it's their it's their project and it's their name on it. So they're gonna produce it and make it however they see that the story works.
For sure, but
So
if you do like a political movie or a war movie or whatever, you can't get your facts wrong or
right.
create a false truth.
Yeah, but that's history.
I
That's
know,
written down. So
but
it's like,
but this is the same thing. This is reality in
yeah,
terms of what you're doing in the kitchen and what we do in the winery. You know, like I love my favorite wine
most people
movie of
don't
all
know better.
time is A Walk in the Clouds with Keanu Reeves.
Uh-huh.
It is horrible. It's so bad and so incorrect and so full of fallacies.
Yeah.
And this is my point. It's like, yeah, the people, it drives people to our industry. Great. We appreciate the business. Yes, we get to be the ambassador once we're one-on-one with them. But I don't want to be the re-educator. Why can't we just head it off at the pass? That's my
Yeah.
point. Why can't we make it really accurate to begin with? And again, there's all the drama is there, all the storylines are there. Yes, those writers can create these shows and they can create these movies and they can film them beautifully, but why not do it with something that's somewhat accurate, you know?
I'm going to tell you what that writer, I'm going to tell you what the producer would say.
What?
To you.
Yeah.
He'd say,
"You're boring."
My job, no, well, he would say that. He would say, my job is not to do that. That's your job. My job is to sell shows to Netflix.
Right.
And guess what?
Yeah.
I just booked 2 new seasons of Drops of God off of that show that I did because it's a show.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying I could have made it better. Maybe I could book him 4 seasons.
Okay, maybe.
We nerd out and get, excited about the things that we do because this is our life. They just want to write a story at the end of the day. And I get it. It glorifies certain aspects of, the restaurant industry or the wine industry and what have you. It's like now, a pair of clogs is twice as much because everyone wants to go out and buy them.
Exactly
and,
right.
The knives get more expensive because everyone's going out and buying Japanese chef's knives because they want to be a chef in their kitchen. But you take the good with the bad, I guess. I don't know. I used to be very pessimistic as a person, and I've been trying really hard to look at the brighter side of things.
You've clearly demonstrated and made me look like the very old curmudgeon, pessimistic asshole. So
well, I mean, the roles could reverse by the end of this. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Well, also in saying that, in talking about this slightly different formatted show, we've traditionally gone so much into someone's backstory or whatever, and I like this. More of your opinions and contribution in that way, because Mike, am I correct? Chef Jake has got to be the youngest guest we've had on the show.
I believe he is.
So
quick math in your head.
It even makes it better because
I'm the guy that was 93% humidity to 40. So
we can't really trust anything he says.
No, exactly. but it does make it that much better. You know what we have? So also, Mike, is this like the beginning of season 2 of Drop the Check?
Well, I mean, remember, we have 32 other episodes that we recorded in the can that people haven't heard.
That's right.
They've been waiting every Friday.
There's a million people waiting.
A few weeks.
But, one of the things that we had talked about, especially with our dear friend Matthew Rorick, is we're not opposed to having people back on the show.
Oh, man.
And so I think Chef Jake could be one of those people that we could have in our pocket to come back and do these types of analytical things of movie reviews, the state of affairs, like when it comes to the pop-up, the trends in mobile dining, if it were to be said that way. But we're already like over an hour 15.
Was it really?
Yeah, I know. Wow. And we haven't even gotten into like a little bit of his story. We talked about, mom and grandparents and all of that, but there's a lot more to the story, and we're going to have another meal.
Well, we'll have to have it. We'll have to have several meals. Maybe we can,
how about we have you come here and we can all sit down and actually have a meal. After, before, and then
another part of our formatting with Drop the Check. We would like to. Mike has done so many good things with documentary type of things and having that sound. Wouldn't it be great, Mike, if we could get like shots and video of us in the kitchen cooking actually and performing real?
And we will.
Okay.
Not what if, we will. That
okay.
I mean, I honestly, I like this idea of the whole pairing and kind of like the reverse technology that we talked about. Reversed
engineered
idea of engineering. I'm sorry. Thank you. Of doing it that way. Let me ask you this, Jake, since you are reverse chefing, engineering this, to you, what are your favorite pairings you have made historically?
That's too hard of a question.
I mean,
I wouldn't answer it, but go ahead.
I don't even know what I cooked yesterday.
You have bubbles and fried chicken.
Yeah, we did. I went full Southern. It was great, and I had some nods of approval on my collard greens, so that was
okay.
It felt good. But I mean,
just something like that. Like if you said collard greens, let me even take it back
Talk about hard to pair.
Two things. Listen, you said a couple things. You said, like, you mentioned your granddad, and I could relate to this so well because you said, and you also, I appreciated that you said don't like the term foodie, and I know I used that for one of my friends that grew up this way, and like I think just he's willing to step out of his comfort zone and try new things or this or that. But you said granddad, because I feel this way. I'm like your granddad, that my ex-wife was a fantastic culinary artist. I didn't have to, there was no me stepping out because I didn't have I worked the grill here and there. But now, since I am on my own, I step out, and there are the things that I cook that I think I've gotten really, really adept at, the certain things that I cook. And those are the things for me sometimes to go outside of that is really, do I want to step out right now? Or so I like the fact that you use your granddad, that you said what he did, though, he did really well. So here you are back in the winery too, that you go, I'm going to try this, and boom, I made collard greens. I think a lot of people that will hear this go, wow, that sounds kind of like, I'm never going to expect to go to a winery and have collard greens, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, name your top, let's say 5. I'm just going to hold you to 5 items that you say you've crossed them and you went, man, that was actually pretty damn cool.
I mean, I think the dish that we did for the winemaker's lunch that had the triple tail, with a like a spent whey vermouth sauce and trout roe.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of triple tail?
Triple tail
is a fish.
It's a fish, yeah.
Okay,
I had never heard of it.
All right, go ahead. Spent whey. Explain what that was.
So a lot of it came from my recent trip to New Orleans, and we went to a restaurant and sat down, and I saw a fish on a menu, and it was triple tail, and I'd never even heard of it. And I was like, I gotta try this, and it was incredible. It was meaty, not overly fishy. It's like a cross between like a halibut and swordfish almost.
Okay, great.
And I was like, I'm gonna hit up my seafood purveyor and see if I can get this. And he responded back to me, and he goes, yeah, I think I can. That's kind of a secret of the South, and I don't have a lot of people that ask for it. And I was like, cool, that's kind of fun. Like, it's something that not everyone has on their menu, especially up here. And the meatiness of the fish went really well with the Chardonnay. That was kind of the idea with that. And then,
but explain how that prep you just said that. Go ahead.
Well, I was just like the spent whey sauce is basically like a sauce noli prat, which is like vermouth. It's been reduced down, and then when you clarify butter, you pull all of the milk solids off of the top as it's cooking, and it separates so that those milk solids don't burn when you try and cook something with the clarified butter. But usually that gets thrown away. That's not something that you would keep, because it's it's weird coagulated funky milk solids.
Fat.
It's just fat. And well, it's actually the protein in it.
See?
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
But you take that and then you emulsify it back into your reduced vermouth, a little bit of cream, and then, a little bit more butter to keep the emulsification.
Okay. So do we have a little sweet and sauciness? And I mean, I'm thinking about the vermouth that is a little bit sweet, right?
It is. When you reduce it down to it, kind of like makes it more acidic as well.
Okay.
Because it intensifies that. So it's got like this really, really rich, unctuous, like fatty butter sauce with like, cut with acidity. So it's like a Beurre Blanc. Boy. And then, I put a bunch of, we were right at the end of Dungeness crab season. So I put a bunch of Dungeness crab meat into it and trout roe, and then just covered the fish with it. Super simple.
Oh my God.
But so good. Yeah. And we did that with Chardonnay.
And that was paired with Chardonnay. And it was like, we have a real nice, big, beautiful, oaked Chardonnay. And it needs something that stands up to it but doesn't overpower it. So.
Yes. I'm very, very hungry right now. Keep going. This is like feel like I'm now I'm on a porn site.
I know. Yeah, it's food porn.
Yes. Okay. Hey, listen. I just put another $1, man. Here's my Venmo.
Mike, what is it?
Just go ahead.
What do we do?
Right. Yeah.
ASMR.
Yes. Yeah, ASMR.
Okay.
Where was the next one?
Split way.
Yeah. Okay. Split. Yeah. No. Go ahead and split. You've got ghee. Hang on. You said ghee is in that. Yeah. Skim it.
All right, hold on. We can slow this down and end it in any way we want, or keep going. But I have got to pee.
I great. Okay, if you want to. So, all right. Well, okay. That's we do it. Is that? Hey, we'll use that as our teaser. We'll do it as a
sometimes teaser. When we drop the check, it's got to be like, hey, we've got to go.
So are you getting up to go to the bathroom before the check's even dropped?
Well, I mean, if we can get the check dropped, I mean, I don't know. You guys keep talking, and Mike keeps asking more and more questions. He's getting all food porned out, and so
I like it. I like food.
You do this forever.
You guys might want some private screen time. I don't know. I'm just saying that it's time for me to get the check dropped, so that I can continue to move.
Okay, then guess what?
What?
It was so lovely to have our youngest.
It was so
member.
short.
It was so short.
So quick.
We're having back on.
It happened.
It's always
it felt like it was quick.
Yeah. That's getting a little awkward.
Okay, then guess what time it is?
Time to drop the check.
Hey friends, thanks again for joining us on Drop the Check. We had a great time with Chef Jake. We wish we could talk to him longer. We wish we could probably talk to everybody a little bit longer. But you can talk to Chef Jake and see what he does. And you can book a tour at Del Dotto Vineyards by visiting deldottovineyards.com. Check out their wines. Check out Chef Jake's food. As always, Drop the Check is brought to you by Pearson Meyer Wines. Pearson Meyer, a very, very, very good wine. For winemaker Robbie Meyer, I'm Mike Anderson. See you next time.